Yo, yo. How's everybody doing today, man? This is your boy at DFSMasterMind _. Today's date is November the 7th. We got a nice 10-gamer on the slate today. I think it should be a pretty good slate. Hopefully y'all got to the green line last night. I was able to squeak out a win. Out of the players that I suggested, the only guy who really let me down was Levert. And I think that's partially due to the fact that Alan Crabb hopped into that starting position. If I would have known that at the time I made the video, I definitely would have had old Crabbe in his spot. But you know, one thing that I did with my lineup, I actually had Alan Crabb. I talked about him as a nice value play in the video. So he came through for me. Levert only had 17 points. It was a letdown spot, but it's all good, man. We was able to cash, and that's what I'm going to try to do today. So let's go ahead and hop into these games, man. The number one game on the slate, we got New Orleans versus the Pacers. Very high-scoring game. It should be a pretty decent one. Out of this game, the two big guys are definitely going to be in play. We got no Sabonis, so I think Thad Young takes a step forward in this one. I think Miles Turner has to play big for this team to compete with the likes of Boogie and Davis, man. So I think this should be a pretty good one. I love Depot at his price, man. He's been the guy, man. Like, he has been really showing out for this squad. It's him and Miles Turner's team, man. So I look for those two guys to have a pretty big night. Moving on to the next one, we got Milwaukee versus Cleveland. I think this should be another pretty decent game. Myself personally, I'm not going to be involved with Giannis tonight. He could see some LeBron James defense. It scares me a little bit. Cleveland, they are the third worst team, when it comes to allowing points, man. Like, as long as Cleveland is not playing defense, LeBron James is going to have to play heavy minutes. He got the price bump. He's been showing out, playing 40-plus minutes a game. So I look for this game as a nice little target. Dallas versus Washington, not a lot of love for this game. It's kind of going to be one of those fades for me. Players that I do like, of course, you can always target Bradley Beal, John Wall. They should be in pretty decent spots. On Dallas side of the ball, it'll be Dennis Smith Jr. and Harrison Barnes for me. In this next game, we have Charlotte versus the Knickerbockers. In this one, I would love to have Porzingis, but I'm not gonna have enough money for him, man. So I'm gonna have to skip on him. If Dwight Howard is healthy and he plays, I think he's in a good spot. Dwight Howard is rebounding his ass off, man, playing pretty decent basketball. So I think he's in a decent spot tonight. Kemba Walker should be okay. Jared Jack, I don't think he'll be able to keep up with old Kemba. So a few spots I like in there, and of course Hardaway, until he reaches that 7K range, he is in play. On this Chicago versus Toronto game, not a whole lot of love for this one either. Kyle Lowry, DeRozan, of course, they're in play. A few value spots, though, man. We got no Nwaba, so that means the minutes will go directly back to Zipser and Valentine like it used to be. So I think there's a little value to be had there. What else? Not really a whole lot I like out of this one, man. So that's going to be pretty much a pass for me. This next game is Clippers versus San Antonio. This should be a nice, grinded out defensive battle. And for that reason, I'm not going to force any of these guys into my lineup. Of course, the studs are always in play. You can look at Griffin, LaMarcus. But these are two of the best defensive teams on the slate. And we have another game very similar to this, very low total. Two solid defenses. We'll get to that one in a second. But a play that I really love out of this game is going to be the coach's son, Austin Rivers. I think he's in a great spot. We know we have no Gallinari tonight. We know Austin Rivers can play the 1 through the 3. So I'm going to be looking at him, and I think at 4,900, he's in a pretty decent spot. Next game, we have Philly versus Utah. We have no Embiid. We have Gobert, who's a monster, rebounding machine. He locks down the paint. This is a tough one for me, man. I think Ben Simmons, of course, he should be able to reach value just due to usage, especially with no Embiid on the court. But he'll have a rough time, man, because he's not much of a threat on the perimeter. And Gobert and Favors, they play very, very solid defense. And Utah is also one of the best defensive teams on the slate in the NBA, period. So not a whole lot of love out of this one. A few value plays, maybe Saric, Rashard Holmes should get that starting nod. And then maybe Amir Johnson. It's not something I'm in love with. We have other value plays on the slate, so this is going to be a hard pass. If I had to pick one person, it definitely would be Rudy Gobert. I think he has a big night tonight. Moving on to the next game, which is the highest game on the slate. We have Brooklyn at Denver. Brooklyn is coming off the back-to-back. They have to travel to Denver. We know the altitude is is real going to Denver, so these guys could look very, very exhausted. Denver is looking for a bounce-back game. Their whole starting lineup got benched in the second half last game they played versus Golden State. Excuse me. They just couldn't get anything started, man. So I look for Denver to come out and look very, very focused. I love a few plays out of this one. I would definitely suggest get you a few pieces out of this one, man. This has all the makings for a classic high-paced game. So I'm looking at Russell. I think he's in play. I think Millsap is in play. We'll get to him later. There's a few guys out of this one, man. A few cheapies, Crab, LeVert. And we know Hollis Jefferson got hurt last night. We'll have to stay up on the news, man, and see if he continues to remain out. If that's the case, we have more value like a Joe Harris. And we'll just have to figure out how it's going, man. Yeah, man, I like this game. I'm going to put a big check mark by this one. The next game on the slate is Memphis versus Portland. Now, this is the other game I was talking about, man. We have two top 10 defenses going at it, man, and these teams are playing slower this year. I know Portland, they used to like to get up and down the court. They're slowing their pace down a ton. So this has the makings of a very good game, but as far as DFS, I'm not really in love with it. I would say a few plays. I would say Tyreek Evans, man, but his price is completely through the roof now. Not a whole lot, man. Maybe a Dylan Brooks. If you want to pay up for the four studs in this one, which is Lillard, Conley, McCollum, and Gasol, feel free to do that. But not a whole lot of fantasy goodness out of this one. And the last game on the slate is OKC versus Sacramento. Everybody is running away from this because they're trying to predict a blowout. I don't think that's a good strategy. One thing I try not to do is get swayed by blowouts, because if I had to call it last night, I thought Boston would definitely blow out Atlanta, but that game came right down to the wire. And for that reason, I don't try to, if I have a good matchup on the slate, I don't run away from it, man. I'm not going to let a blowout scare me away. One thing we know, we're dealing with professional basketball players, man. They're not going out there with the intentions that they're going to get blown out. Even if they're a little overmatched, they're going to play hard. And if things get out of control, it just get out of control. But nobody is like, OKC is not going into the stadium like, yeah, we're going to blow these guys out real quick. It just doesn't happen. So that's one thing we can't predict. So I'm all over that game. I think we have some nice value plays out of that one. And if it stays close, I know it will be under-owned, man. So I'm going to be targeting that. Like I said, I'm playing GPP tonight. I will have me a cash lineup, but, you know, I'm going hard on some GPPs tonight. Number one play on the slate for me is going to be Russell Westbrook, man. I just got done telling y'all how I like the matchup. He has a cupcake matchup going to Sacktown. And another positive, while I'm not really completely running away from this game is because Sacramento is at home. I think they try to put on a show versus a nice team, man, to kind of make a statement. But with that being said, OKC should get the dub, man. And I think Russell Westbrook has a big part in that. I think he gets a triple-double tonight. And I think he looks for a bounce-back game, man. OKC came out and got stunned by Portland. So I like the spot for him, bounce-back spot, late-night hammer, cheapest stud on the slate, man, as far as the 10K plus guys, man. So I'm going to lock Russell Westbrook in. Moving on to shooting guard. My number one shooting guard on the slate is a point guard, and that's going to be Malcolm Brogdon. We know Cleveland does not defend at all. I don't know if they're trying not to defend. It's looking really rough for these guys. This total is at a 220. I think we have a ton of options we can choose. I'm going to bypass the two big pieces in LeBron and Giannis, and I'm going to go after Malcolm Brogdon. I think him and Middleton have very, very solid games. Cleveland is giving up the most three-pointers in the NBA right now. Malcolm Brogdon is a pretty good shooter, but the number one three-point shooter is definitely Chris Middleton. So I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out and have a monster game, but I'm going to lock in Malcolm Brogdon. Love the spot, love the matchup, so let's get it. Moving on to small forward, I'm finna hit you with a little value, and I gotta go with my boy Alan Crabb as soon as I find him. There we go, Crabbe. Now we seen him get the starting job last night. I'm guessing it's gonna be no Hollis Jefferson. Excuse me. This Brooklyn team is going to be thin, man. So I think they run multiple guards out there tonight. I think Karis LeVert is actually in another good spot tonight. But I think Crabbe, with the starting job, all he has to do is hit some shots. And we've seen him. He's starting to build confidence, man. In Portland, this guy won people several GPPs. He possesses a type of upside and scoring ability that a lot of players around his price range just do not have. So with him being in a starting lineup, I think it's a no-brainer on the highest scoring game on the slate. So I'm going to go ahead and lock Alan Crabb in. Moving on to power forward, I'm going to get you a little more value. It's value, but it's a nice, safe play, man. I think it makes out for a good spot for Jeff Green. Going up against Milwaukee. Now, Kevin Love is still questionable right now, but regardless if Kevin Love plays or not, I think Jeff Green is in a pretty good spot. He's been like the first or second man off the bench in every single game. He's in a good spot, man. If we can get that 25 minutes at 4,200 in a fast-paced game, I think Jeff Green really benefits. I'm going to go out on a limb and say he gets a double-double tonight with 15-plus points. And at 4,200, that would be a steal, man. I really love this game. Like I said, I want to get other pieces from this game, and I'm going to lean on Jeff Green as a nice, solid value play. And then at the center spot, I got to go with my boy Paul Millsap, man. We're going to target that game again, the highest scoring game on the slate. We finally seen Millsap break out of his shooting slump. He was struggling early in the season. I think he's starting to get a little more comfortable. You can scratch out that Golden State game because, like I said, the coach just benched everybody, man. No starter got back in the game besides Murray, and that was only to give whoever was in the game a little breather, and then he came right back in. So Millsap is on my radar. I think Denver looks a lot more sharp tonight. I think it's a very good spot to target some Paul Millsap. Like I said, Hollis Jefferson is out. We know Booker's out. I don't know who they're going to throw on him, man. Maybe Quincy Acey or somebody like that along those lines. But I think no matter who Millsap is guarded against, whether it's Mozgov, Zeller, Acey, I think he will have the advantage in all of those matchups. So I'm going to lock him in at my center spot. And that's going to do it, man. Those are my top 5 plays on tonight's slate. Left you with a decent amount of